Hello everyone, welcome to our channel, Meetings Assistance for Jehovah's Witnesses. I hope all of you are doing well. In this video, we are going to analyze and answer the questions from this week's Watchtower study. This study corresponds to the week of August 18th to 24th and is titled, What Do Jacob's Last Words Teach Us? Part 1. Without further ado, let's begin. Let's look at questions 1 and 2. What did Jacob do when he had little time left to live, and why? See also the picture. Jacob gathered his sons when he knew he had little time left to live. He did this to give them important instructions and to speak about the family's future. Additional comments. As shown in Genesis 47:28, Jacob deeply valued the family unity he had regained after many years. This teaches us the importance of making the most of our time to strengthen bonds with our loved ones, especially as life draws to a close. According to Isaiah 38:1, giving final instructions was a practice intended to preserve family order and continuity. Today, we can also learn from this by planning ahead and clearly communicating what we consider important for those who depend on us. Let's look at question 3. According to Genesis 49:1-2, what was special about Jacob's words? Jacob's words were special because they contained prophecies about the future of his sons and their descendants. Additional comments. In Genesis 49:1, it is shown that God used Jacob to reveal future events. This highlights how Jehovah guides his servants so that his plans are fulfilled at the right time. Genesis 49:2 indicates that Jacob gathered his sons to listen carefully. This teaches the importance of paying attention when spiritual direction is given that may affect our future. Let's look at question 4. What will we analyze in this article? See also the box, Jacob's family. In this article, we will analyze the prophetic words that Jacob spoke to Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, how they were fulfilled throughout Israel's history, and the practical lessons we can draw for our lives. Additional comments. Genesis 49:28 shows that Jacob gave specific instructions to each son according to his role in the family and the future of his descendants. This teaches us that each person has a unique responsibility within God's purpose. When considering Jacob's family structure as described in the Bible account, we see how Jehovah blessed an imperfect family and used it to accomplish his purpose. This reminds us that God can use any of us despite our limitations. Let's move on to the first subheading, Reuben. Let's look at question 5. What responsibility may Reuben have expected to receive? Reuben probably expected to receive a double portion of the inheritance and to become the patriarch of the family after his father's death. Additional comments. Genesis 49:3 highlights Reuben's position as the firstborn, which normally came with special privileges and responsibilities. This reminds us that significant opportunities also bring higher expectations of faithfulness. Reuben's expectation reflects how, in Bible times, the birthright included spiritual and material leadership. This detail shows that the decisions of the firstborn could influence future generations, emphasizing the importance of personal responsibility. Let's look at question 6. Why did Reuben lose his birthright? Genesis 49, 3, 4. Reuben lost his birthright because he had relations with Bilhah, his father's concubine, which was a serious sin and deeply displeased Jehovah and Jacob. Additional comments. Genesis 35:22 shows that immoral actions have consequences that can affect a person's future, even if they hold an important position. This teaches the importance of self-control and integrity. 1 Chronicles 5:1 shows that the birthright could be lost due to improper conduct. This reminds us that privileges are not permanent if they are not accompanied by faithful and respectful behavior according to God's standards. Let's look at question 7. What happened to Reuben and his descendants? See also the box, the prophecy Jacob spoke on his deathbed. Reuben and his descendants did not achieve positions of leadership as kings, priests, or prophets, but they remained part of the nation of Israel. Additional comments. Genesis 37:20-22 shows that Reuben, despite his mistake, at other times acted with good intentions, which teaches that a serious sin does not forever determine a person's worth before God. Joshua 12:6 confirms that the tribe of Reuben received its inheritance in the Promised Land, which reflects Jehovah's mercy in not excluding them completely, but allowing them to remain part of his people. Let's look at question 8. What lessons do we learn from Reuben's example? We learn the importance of self-control, rejecting sexual immorality, thinking before acting, and remembering that our decisions have consequences, but also that Jehovah is merciful to the repentant. Additional comments. Galatians 6:7 emphasizes that we always reap what we sow, which teaches the need to act responsibly and foresee the effects of our decisions. Jehovah's mercy, seen in Reuben's experience, shows that although consequences do not disappear, God blesses those who sincerely repent and change their ways. Let's move on to the second subheading, Simeon and Levi. Let's look at question 9. Why did Jacob speak words full of disapproval to Simeon and Levi? Genesis 49:5-7. Jacob rebuked Simeon and Levi because they acted deceitfully and with extreme violence by killing the men of Shechem after the abuse committed against their sister Dinah. Additional comments. Genesis 34:25-29 shows that excessive revenge can bring serious consequences and divine disapproval. This teaches that justice must be sought in a fair and controlled way, not through violence. Genesis 49:5-7 shows that Jacob condemned their cruelty, making it clear that impulsive and vengeful actions can stain a family's name and provoke God's disapproval. Let's look at question 10. How were Jacob's prophetic words about Simeon and Levi fulfilled? See also the box, the prophecy Jacob spoke on his deathbed. Jacob's words were fulfilled when the tribe of Simeon received scattered lands within the territory of Judah, and the tribe of Levi was dispersed into 48 cities throughout Israel. Additional comments. Genesis 49:7 shows that Jacob's prophecy focused on dispersion as a consequence of their past violence. This teaches that impulsive actions can have repercussions that extend for generations. Joshua 21:41 reflects that, despite this dispersion, the Levites came to perform important spiritual functions in Israel, showing how Jehovah can turn consequences into opportunities for service. Let's look at question 11. What good things did the tribes of Simeon and Levi do? The tribe of Levi supported pure worship and was chosen to serve as priests, while the tribe of Simeon bravely cooperated with Judah in the conquest of the Promised Land. Additional comments. Exodus 32:26-29 shows that the Levites stood firm in favor of true worship even when others strayed. This teaches that loyalty to God can open the door to great spiritual privileges. Judges 1:3-17 highlights that the men of Simeon worked in unity with Judah to accomplish Jehovah's will. This underscores the importance of cooperation in projects that honor God. Let's look at question 12. What lessons do we learn from the examples of Simeon and Levi? We learn not to be dominated by anger, to act according to Bible principles even in the face of injustice, and to remember that we can please Jehovah even if our parents set a bad example. Additional comments. James 1:20 emphasizes that anger does not produce righteousness in God's eyes, which teaches that responding calmly is essential to maintain His approval. 1 Peter 3:9 encourages us not to repay evil for evil, but to respond with kindness, showing that true strength lies in self-restraint and trust in divine justice. Let's move on to the third subheading, Judah. Let's look at question 13. Why might Judah have been worried when it was his turn to hear Jacob? Judah may have been worried because, like his older brothers, he had committed serious mistakes such as plundering Shechem, taking part in selling Joseph, and deceiving his father. Additional comments. Genesis 34:27 shows that Judah was also involved in violent acts, teaching us that even those who commit serious faults may fear future consequences. Genesis 37:31-33 highlights his participation in deceiving Jacob, reminding us that impulsive and selfish decisions can create guilt and long-term family tensions. Let's look at question 14. What did Jacob say to Judah, and what good things had Judah done? Genesis 49:8-9. Jacob praised Judah and prophesied good things about him because he showed concern for his father and protected his brother Benjamin. Additional comments. Genesis 49:8-9 shows that Jehovah inspired words of honor for Judah, teaching us that kindness and family loyalty can bring approval and blessings. Genesis 44:18-30-34 highlights his willingness to sacrifice himself for Benjamin, reminding us that compassion and responsibility toward others can change how people view us. Let's look at question 15. In what ways was Jacob's prophecy about Judah fulfilled? The prophecy was fulfilled when the tribe of Judah led during the journey through the wilderness, spearheaded the conquest of the Promised Land, and from it came the royal line that began with King David. Additional comments. Numbers 10:14 shows that Judah was placed at the front of the march through the wilderness, teaching that leadership granted by God can manifest at key moments in the history of His people. Judges 1:1-2 highlights that Judah was chosen to initiate the conquest, showing that trust and obedience to divine instructions are essential to fulfilling Jehovah's will. Let's look at question 16. How was the prophecy in Genesis 49:10 fulfilled? See also the box, the prophecy Jacob spoke on his deathbed. The prophecy was fulfilled when Jesus, a descendant of Judah, became the king of God's kingdom and received the throne promised to David. Additional comments. Genesis 49:10 reveals that the scepter would remain with Judah until the arrival of Shiloh, showing that divine promises are fulfilled precisely even after centuries of waiting. Revelation 5:5 identifies Jesus as the Lion of the tribe of Judah, teaching us that His royal authority is legitimate and backed by prophetic fulfillment. Let's look at question 17. How can we imitate Jehovah? We can imitate Jehovah by focusing on the good qualities of others rather than their flaws and by valuing the virtues they display. Additional comments. Genesis 49:8-10 shows that Jehovah blessed Judah for his positive qualities, even though he had made mistakes. This teaches that God focuses on each person's potential. Luke 1:32-33 shows how that blessing had lasting effects by leading to the birth of Jesus from that lineage. We thus learn that highlighting the good in others can contribute to greater purposes than we might imagine. Let's look at question 18. Why do we need to be patient? We must be patient because Jehovah always fulfills His promises, even if not in the moment or way we expect, and in the meantime, we should support those He appoints to guide His people. Additional comments. Hebrews 6:12 encourages us to imitate those who inherit the promises through faith and patience, teaching that active and loyal waiting brings spiritual rewards. Judah's example, as he supported leaders from other tribes before assuming leadership, shows that true patience includes respect and cooperation with divine direction. Let's look at question 18. What does the prophecy that Jacob gave shortly before dying teach us about Jehovah? We learn that Jehovah looks beyond appearances, is patient and forgiving, and blesses those who sincerely repent and strive to do what is right, even if they have made serious mistakes. Additional comments. 1 Samuel 16:7 shows that Jehovah does not judge by outward appearance but by the heart, teaching us to evaluate others with a fairer and more compassionate view. Jacob's prophecy reflects that although God does not tolerate bad conduct, He offers opportunities to those who repent, highlighting His balance between justice and mercy. Now we will answer the review questions titled, What do we learn from what Jacob said to his first 4 sons? Question 1. Reuben. We learn that lack of self-control and giving in to improper desires can cause us to lose important privileges and the trust of those who expect a good example from us. His experience teaches us that bad decisions affect not only our personal life but also the stability and well-being of our family and the generations that follow. Question 2. Simeon and Levi. We learn that allowing anger and the desire for revenge to guide our actions can cause irreparable harm and bring long-lasting consequences. Their story reminds us that violence is never the solution and that it is far wiser to handle conflicts fairly and peacefully to maintain God's approval and harmony with others. Question 3. Judah. We learn that even if we have made serious mistakes in the past, if we sincerely repent and show loyalty, responsibility, and compassion toward others, we can regain the trust of God and those around us. His example shows that Jehovah can transform an imperfect person into someone valuable and worthy of great responsibilities and blessings. Well, these have been the answers for this week's Watchtower study. I hope they are very helpful to you, my dear brothers and sisters. We will see each other next week with a new video. I send you a warm hug, and may Jehovah always bless and protect you.